Entrepreneurship is hard. If you want a fun hobby, try pickleball. I hear it's a riot. Whatever you do, don't start a business unless you're prepared to fail and fail often. And if you survive those failures, it's still not easy. You still might not succeed, and it continues to be hard. But this is not all doom and gloom. I offer this as a means of encouragement. This is the Next Simple Step podcast. I'm Paul Goldsmith. And I mean it. I want to truly encourage you. The word encouragement means to make stronger, and you get stronger by facing resistance, not glossing over the realities or making things seem easier than they are, but addressing them head on. You don't have to pretend that you're not afraid. Being afraid just means you're doing something of consequence, and I get afraid all the time, but that's not a reason to give up. It's a reason to double down on your purpose. Why are you starting this project or this business? Is it worth doing even if you don't succeed? That's the question. Being an entrepreneur is inherently risky. If you work for somebody else, they're fronting the risk for you. It's a job, but when you are the creator, when you are the entrepreneur, it's all dependent upon you. And I don't think this gets talked about enough, that there are serious obstacles in your way. YouTube has millions of kids, perhaps even yours, convinced that they can make a career of being a content creator like Mr. Beast. And it would be easy to laugh at them, except I know way too many adults who think they can make a career of being an influencer or self-made millionaire themselves. Just because it's theoretically possible doesn't make it probable. Individual results may vary. There are just too many factors outside of your control to guarantee results, and it's almost guaranteed that there will be unexpected interruptions in your plan. Pandemics happen, family or medical issues occur, or maybe it's a new competitor that comes out of nowhere and takes your customers. I've experienced all three in my short time as being an entrepreneur, and I love it. I aspire to remain an entrepreneur for the rest of my career, but I think it's important that those of us in the game of entrepreneurship talk about the risk involved. Because one of my favorite authors, Nassim Taleb, points out, every man believes he's quite different. So when you get started, of course you think you're going to make it. You're optimistic. Taleb actually has this incredible book called Fooled by Randomness, where he convincingly makes the case that randomness and chance are at work in our lives more than any of us realize, because we have a thing called survivorship bias and tend to only look at the people who were successful doing the thing that we hope to emulate or we're pursuing. We forget about all the many people who tried the same thing and have failed. We only look at the success stories. As Taleb argues, mild success can be explainable by skills and hard work, but wild success is usually attributable to variance and luck. And of course, we can't control the variance and luck. But we can increase our odds of that mild success by working really hard and being realistic about what is required to be successful. Your business will only grow to the extent that you do. And there's this common mindset in entrepreneurial circles that if you want it bad enough, it'll happen, or you can think and grow rich. In fact, there's a best-selling book by that title, Think and Grow Rich. It's quoted all the time. And it basically says that if you really concentrate your mind and focus relentlessly on growing rich, that you will. The problem is, it's all a fiction. The author, Napoleon Hill, was a con artist, and I heard this story recently on a podcast called The Dream. The host, Jane Marie, explains that the man himself, Napoleon Hill, was a fiction.
None of his story is true, starting with the fact that after a string of run-ins with the law, he decided to go by his middle name instead of his first.
Napoleon Hill was born Oliver Napoleon Hill.
Wait, his name isn't even Napoleon.
Right. His name is Oliver or Nap.
This is Matt Novak. A few years ago, his partner came to him and she asked him if he'd ever heard of this guy, Napoleon Hill, because she'd just read something about him.
And it was nothing but a gut reaction on her part that something was fishy and set me off on this course. But she came up to me and said, there's this guy named Napoleon Hill and you need to debunk him. And that's exactly what I set out to do, because it was pretty clear that this was a guy with a lot to sell and not much substance behind it.
And careful what you wish for if you have a partner who respects your ideas, because he did exactly what she suggested and spent the next 2 years working nights and weekends writing a 20,000-word piece about Napoleon Hill. And that first discovery, that his name wasn't really Napoleon, was crucial to his research, because if you just look up Napoleon Hill in historical records, it's all about the book. You can't really find anything on Napoleon Hill from before then. Honestly, using your middle name was a great trick in the olden days.
But if you search Oliver Hill or Oliver Napoleon Hill, you get a bunch of scams that he was running, buying lumber on credit and then selling it at pennies on the dollar to other people. And, various companies were scammed in this way, and he was pursued by the authorities. And
Napoleon Hill grew rich by being a con man. And that, to me, is not a definition of success. So what about for you? Is it time to redefine what success looks like as a person and how your entrepreneurial journey fits into that picture? Is it family first or truly chasing the almighty dollar? You really have got to do a gut check on that. Don't compare yourself to the gurus or the best-selling authors or the people whose story you don't know what is actually happening behind the scenes. Everybody's journey is their own. And so whatever you pursue, make sure it's worth spending your life doing it. Again, I just want to encourage you to follow your passion, your calling, and do what it is you want to do, but don't compare the results with anybody else. And do it even if it's not going to all work out in the end. Do it because you have to, because you're called to, because it's worth pursuing. Just don't expect it to be easy. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can find me on Threads or X at Paul J. Goldsmith, and I hope this is beneficial to you. I'll talk to you next time on the next Simple Step Podcast.